The blood pressure, the heartbeat, the nerves, coordination, the courage of this 51-year-old man are just fine. His name is Bill Muncey, and he's about to drive an unlimited hydroplane on a tough afternoon of racing.
I remember how to do that now.
I'm convinced older's better. I really am. And the reason is I'm driving faster than I've ever driven, and I'm not an exceptional guy. I've had an interesting background, and I've had certain skills that I've been able to lend to a racing atmosphere. But, you know, why do people all of a sudden, when they reach 50, think, oh, I got 15 years to die, so they proceed to get ready for it? When if they would stay with what they're doing and keep at it, they get better and better and better. And I think that's exactly what I'm proving decisively, if nothing else, by racing, is that, hey, the older you are, the better you are, because you've got conditioned reflexes, you've got background, you've got experience. What good are reflexes if you're in your 20s if you don't really know what to do, you know?
Today, Bill Muncey drives this boat, trying for his 54th career win as we present the Grand Prix of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, the Gold Cup on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer, who invites you to see and test drive their exciting new 79 lineup featuring an all-new breed of Mustang and LTD, a new American road car. By Budweiser, for all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Firestone, makers of the 721 steel-belted radio. In 76 years, Firestone has never built a tire in which they've had more confidence.
Madison, Indiana, population 13,000, a well-organized, peaceful, happy little community in the middle of the country along the banks of the Ohio River. Going about its own way, doing its own thing most of the time, but once a year, oh, it happens. The Unlimited Hydroplanes come to town, and in 1979, it's the Gold Cup race. And let's take a ride with Jack Schaefer Jr. in the Miss Tri-Cities. The Unlimited Hydroplane, minimum 28 feet in length, capable of straightaway speeds better than 170 miles an hour. More flying across the water than riding on it. It takes craftsmanship, engineering, aerodynamics, courage, skill, luck, all these things to make these machines thrive in competition. They call them the Thunderbolts, and that's what they are. The power comes from these big engines, World War II vintage fighter plane engines. The Rolls here, used in the Spitfires, 3,000 horsepower, 45% of the total boat weight, which runs between 6,000 and 7,000 pounds, ready for racing. Some Allison aircraft engines also still being used. Unlimited imagination in merchandising, if you will, like this fellow, the Pink Panther that is the mascot of the new Circus boat. Inside the cockpit, it's snug and it's economical. Only the essential dials and the safety precautions are at hand for the driver. And here a lesson in aerodynamics. You can see how much this boat flies rather than rides in the water. But in the turns, the skid fin reaches down in there to snug the boats to the buoys. The sound when an engine fires is all power. And this power transmitted to a prop that turns 12,000 RPM and drives this boat at better than 170 miles an hour down the straight. Only half of it in the water. Today, a three-bladed prop being used on the new Miss Budweiser, coming right off the drawing board and into the race. A whole new concept, including having the fuselage off-center by nearly a foot. The conventional three-point unlimited hydroplane, seen here with its straight-up stabilizer, is the craft that dramatized this sport. So back in the 50s, it is still running and it is still competitive. So we have more than 2 decades of aerodynamics on display. Fanciful new ideas like this in the horizontal stabilizer of the Squire. The engine, so powerful, so complicated, can be changed in less than half an hour. And they are many times, particularly for the skilled crews. And it's all skill that runs this one, the Atlas Van Lines boat, the defending champion from 1978, to be driven by the man, the only man to win 7 Gold Cups. Hello again, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. It was 25 years ago that I covered my first unlimited hydroplane race, and in those days, the Gold Cup was the race. It still very much is the race. There are names on this old trophy that go back so many years to Garwood and Guy Lombardo. So many of the men who raced with such courage and heart in this competition are no longer with us, but they will be remembered forever because of what they could do with an unlimited hydroplane and what they did do with their lives. Today, as we go to this 1979 Gold Cup race, there is a name that goes back 25 years in it, Bill Muncey. People started chasing him in the middle 50s, and they are still chasing this rascal as he performs so nobly and once again tries to win a Gold Cup for a third successive time. Only one other man's ever done it. That was Ron Musson in the middle 60s. The question now is whether or not there is anyone here who can really run down Bill Muncey. Will it be Steve Reynolds, the youngster who is driving the Circus boat and driving it so very well, apparently an emerging star in unlimited hydroplane racing? Or could it be Dean Chenoweth, who is coming off 4 years of retirement? Now let us introduce you to a gentleman who will be working with me today. Sort of an old-timer, I think that's fair to say. Jim Hendrick, who's been covering unlimited hydroplane racing for more than a quarter century, and is the anchor voice for the Unlimited Hydroplane Network right now. And you've watched the competition through 1979. Can this younger one, Reynolds, run with these two proven veterans?
He not only can, Keith, but he has. He's beaten Muncey once this year in a heat in Evansville. The last race at Detroit, he was leading by 5 boat lengths before his prop let go. And I think that he does not have the experience, but he does have the horses and he has the guts. Now, if he doesn't get too much of a driving lesson from Bill Muncey, he just might pull it off.
What about equipment?
He has all fine equipment, top-notch organization, no doubt about it. I think any young man in his position would be happy to have the chance he has, and I think he's going to try to make the most of it.
You will wave telling us you
Yesterday, veteran referee of 17 years, Bill Newton, presided at the drivers' meeting, final pre-race instructions. Make sure everybody understands what is expected of them. Now about the race format, Jim.
Well, Keith, the Gold Cup format calls for 3 15-mile elimination runs. Now, the 8 boats that qualified are split into 2 4-boat groups. And the luck of the draw after each heat dictates the quality of competition that each of these drivers is going to face. After 45 miles of racing takes place, 3 boats are eliminated, and the 5 drivers that have accrued the most points in the elimination heats go head-to-head in the run for the Cup.
On a 2.5-mile course here on the Ohio River, and we'll highlight those elimination heats for you in just a moment.
When you say Budweiser, when you say Bud, you said a lot of things nobody else can say. When you say Bud, you say you care enough to only want the king of beers. When you say Budweiser, you said it all.
Now let's recap the elimination heats for you. That is a clock you see in the right-hand upper corner of your television screen. The drivers see this clock when they come down off the exit board for the first turn. They're coming full bore, trying to time their arrival at the start line just exactly when that clock turns black. Get there too soon, they could be penalized a lap. Running in this heat, you have the Atlas Tri-Cities Madison Kentuckiana. This is Heat 1B. Heat 1A has already been completed, and in Heat 1A, Circus was the winner, 400 points for first, Squire second, 300 points for second place, Toyota third, 225 points, and the Budweiser did not finish, but fourth place is worth 169 points. Now, there was an incident in 1B on the first turn which caused this damage to Miss Madison as Kentuckiana paving slid wide and banged into that sponson area on the left side, and the emergency repairs effected return to the water for the Madison boat. And this is how the incident happened.
Keith John Petty failed to hold his lane. Number 1, he slides into Milner Irwin into Miss Madison and thus sustains the damage to 2 boats.
And the running order in 1B was Atlas 400 points, Tri-Cities 300 points, Madison 225 points, and the Kentuckian 169 points. Now looking at Heat 2A, just a brief recap here because it was one-sided victory for the Squire shop driven by Chip Hanauer. He got 400 points to total 700 and seems well on his way toward the final. Tri-Cities was second, Toyota was third, and Kentuckiana finished in the number 4 spot. Heat 2B, however, was something different because it had a matchup of the hot dogs. You had Circus Circus, Budweiser, Atlas, and Madison all going in it. It was an exciting moment, and this is how Jim Hendrick and I saw it and called it. Now they step on the throttle, and here they come for the start. Here it's acceleration that means so much, and it's Miss Madison coming up on the outside with good acceleration. Budweiser on the inside, and Circus Circus in the middle, and Muncey is back in the back, and it is a clean start. The three of them coming across together. Budweiser, Circus Circus, and Madison, and Muncey is running in the spray. Bill Muncey just emerging into your picture there. Second boat from the left-hand side, and as they go into the turn, it's Budweiser losing the lead to Circus Circus. Budweiser coming right off the trailer and going out onto the race course, not able to run that well through the turns. A big hook by Chenoweth almost jerks him inside the buoy, and Circus Circus flies off to a big lead on the back straight. Now it's Atlas Van Lines beginning to move up into the number 3 position and making more of a run of it as Madison drops off the pace and trails the field. It is now Budweiser going in a little hotter. Let's see whether or not they've been able to get some more aerodynamics solved in that new craft as he goes in hot. Muncey closing behind him, and let's see whether or not young Steve Reynolds can hold Circus Circus tight to the buoy as they work their way through. Look at that tremendous wall of water that skid fan really kicks up. Now here comes the turning problem. Circus Circus down off the turn, handles it well. This time Budweiser with Chenoweth. Jim Hendricks goes way wide, and Muncey is snug on the buoy and saving distance.
Hey, Chenoweth told us before this race, Keith, he thought he could pull the Circus Circus in the chutes, but he can't give him this much room.
No, sir. He went way, way wide, and Circus Circus runs off to a huge lead as Bill Muncey closes down on the Budweiser. On the straight, the Budweiser looks lethal. Budweiser running here. Got a new course record on this 2.5-mile course on the Ohio River on Thursday. Muncey came back on Saturday to knock it down at better than 121 miles an hour. But right now, the swiftest boat on the river is the Circus Circus, with Budweiser now beginning to get a challenge from Bill Muncey. Muncey crossing the wake, takes the inside position away from Chenoweth, and on the back straight, it's going to be a fight between Muncey and Chenoweth. Muncey now has the inside position, and he is closing down on Chenoweth.
Fastest lap of the day, Keith, lap number 1 for Steve Reynolds in the Circus Circus, 117.188.
That's hot on a very cold, overcast day. And I say cold because it is midsummer. Along the Ohio River, normally it'd be very hot. Now it's Reynolds making a good turn coming down off the exit buoy with Muncey holding the inside position. Now you see the leader flash by. You see how tight to the turn buoy Muncey is, how wide Dean Chenoweth is in the bud. And now it's going to be Bill Muncey taking over second place and leveling his sights on the leader, Steve Reynolds. Muncey, however, chose not to take an all-out run at Reynolds. The Circus Circus went on to win it. The Atlas finished in second place. The Budweiser was third. The Madison 4, and Circus Circus with 800 points. Atlas and Squire with 700. We'll have more in a moment. Dead in the water, the new Miss Budweiser. All hope of reaching the final gone. Failing to finish Heat 3A, leaving Bill Muncey to fly on alone and win 3A with a new course record of 121.457 for one lap. Yesterday, we toured this course with Bill Muncey in a pleasure boat. Where are the greatest points of treachery on this particular race course, the moving river?
It's a scary race course. There's a couple of things that are scary about it. Mainly, it's caused because of what we call ground swells. The bottom of the river it goes up and down and up and down. Of course, the top of the river has to go up and down. And here it's an ever-changing thing because something to do with the way, I suppose, the sun moves across the earth. In the late afternoon, it gets really wild, like the back chute just coming off the corner on this race course really comes up with some of the biggest swells I've ever seen. And our boats aren't really designed to go through them well. It's really scary.
Well, I know that I've reached an age where it's dignified to walk a little slower, and yet I don't see anything like that in you. You're charging just as hard or harder than ever.
I'm convinced older's better. I really am. And the reason is I'm driving faster than I've ever driven, and I'm not an exceptional guy. I've had an interesting background, and I've had certain skills that I've been able to lend to a racing atmosphere. But, you know, why do people all of a sudden, when they reach 50, think, oh, I got 15 years to die, so they proceed to get ready for it? When if they would stay with what they're doing and keep at it, they do better and better and better. And I think that's exactly what I'm proving decisively, if nothing else, by racing, is that hey, the older you are, the better you are, because you've got conditioned reflexes, you've got background, you've got experience. What good are reflexes if you're in your 20s if you don't really know what to do? You know?
Well, I guess that proves the old point. You only get wisdom from one source, living and surviving. Huh? I know there are times, Bill, when I sit back and remember names like Wagner, Kaiser, Rhodes, Sayers, and names like Manchester, Musson, Donnie Wilson, Bill Stead, and it kind of reaches inside of you, because these are people that we lived with, traveled with, and you fought with.
Oh, indeed. No question. You never forget, at least I found this out, I've not ever been able to deal with death very well. I don't think I've handled myself well. You never forget things like that, ever. I mean, every day of my life, I'm reminded somehow of some one of those guys. But you do blank it out. I think the human psyche is such that we can blank it out and not allow it to affect my performance. I wouldn't want it to do that, just in respect to them, because they made a great contribution, not only their lives, but they did other things to help get the public's attention to our sport, and they were superb drivers, the best available. I've never, it still bothers me very much, all those names that lost their lives in our sport. But I am able to blank it out, and I don't think it affects me performance-wise.
Is what you do a brave thing, Bill?
Oh, no, that's an overreaction. I don't consider myself very courageous or any of those neat little words that kids look up to. I'm really prepared to do what I'm doing, and I do it very professionally, and I'm good at it. I'm a great student of the sport, and I feel responsible to the sport. And it hasn't anything to do with courage. Kids expect you to be brave. Hey, I'm the scaredest guy in town. You got to be in fear of God, but great respect for all that kind of thing. But it has nothing to do with courage.
Those comments from yesterday, the ultimate veteran, Bill Muncey, right there, hard hat in place, getting ready to go. Just over there, the brash young rookie, Steve Reynolds. He won Heat 3B. We'll see what happens in the final. It is now time. The 1979 Gold Cup race is to be decided over the next 15 miles. All 5 finalists pictured here are on the river and running. If you've been saving something, you've got to spend it now. If you've got a trick, you must expose it. Here's where you test your mettle and test your equipment. Earlier, Jim Hendrick talked with each one of the finalists about technique, about the course. Dr. Toyota's driver, Bob Mashmet.
It would take a lot of luck for you to get in the top 5. It would take a great amount of luck for you to win it.
That's true, Jim. There's some fantastic equipment here on the beach. It's just come out to race in just the past few weeks, and we're going to need some luck to be able to do well in this race.
The Squire Shop, brand new boat, driven by young Chip Hanauer out of Seattle, Washington. Conversation with him.
You look a little squirrely in the chutes. It looks like you're lifting off about a little over 150 mile an hour, and you're going to fly it.
Yeah, exactly. At about 150, it gets really aired out, meaning it just starts packing too much air under the boat, and I've got to back off to settle the boat down so it's manageable. That could be a problem if we start flying at 150 and the other boats are stable at that speed. They'll continue to go by. I don't know. Maybe they're getting loose too. We'll just have to see.
The Tri-Cities tile boat out of the state of Washington, driven by Jack Schaefer Jr. He had these comments for Jim on the course.
This course is an interesting course. It has very long straightaways and very narrow turns, and it's somewhat to an advantage to our cars. And as we warm up on the 5-minute gun, we're sitting here looking at the water, getting readings, look at how the boat's running, look at temperatures, listen to the motor, and there's a lot of things that go through our mind. And we know when that 1-minute gun fires and we come around the apex of that turn down on the start that there's only one thing that counts, and that's winning. So we try to, on race day, go as fast as we can without tearing up the equipment, because everybody knows that the final heat's the one that counts, and in the final we're just going to let it go and hope to be out front.
Atlas Van Lines, driven by Bill Muncey. These comments from his wife, Fran. Fran, in about 100 words, how would you describe your husband?
Well, he's very competitive, easy to live with, a poor loser, a good husband, and a wonderful guy.
Circus Circus, driven by Steve Reynolds. Comments earlier from his wife, Linda.
Linda, when your husband's on the water, do you ever worry?
Oh, certainly. But I have faith in his driving. I have faith in the design of the boat, and I know that it'll bring him back. You know, he's had a few close calls. It's been a month in the hospital on one of them, but this is what he wants to do, so I'm supportive of it. I let him do it.
If you had your druthers, would you rather see him in some other kind of work?
If he wasn't racing boats, he'd be racing cars or motorcycles or something else, so no. I love it. If I could, I'd be out there in one.
Traditionally, there are 2 cannons fired prior to the start of a race, a 5-minute gun and a 1-minute gun. This is such an important period of time because it is here where your basic decisions have to be made. Decisions that can be so very important. In fact, determine the ultimate outcome. Jim talked with Steve Reynolds about this.
Every time you come to a course, it's for the first time. You are a rookie, but the 5-minute gun is always the same. What do you do in that 5-minute period to get yourself ready and get your best position?
Well, Jim, there's an awful lot of strategy that goes on in that 5-minute period. You're very conscious of where the other boats are, and that's the time where a lot of psyching goes on, where drivers try to pull the other drivers out of position. That's really where I would say about 50% of the race is won in the 5-minute period, especially in the 1-minute period just prior to the start. An awful lot of shuffling on, going around there, and jockeying for position. That's really a very, very critical part of this race.
Everything's at stake in this 6-lap adventure on a 2.5-mile course on the Ohio River. The winner of this heat will win the Gold Cup for 1979. It is a very fast field with Circus Circus Steve Reynolds, Atlas Van Lines with Bill Muncey, Tri-Cities Tile with Jack Schaefer Jr., Squire Sharp with Chip Hanauer, and Dr. Toyota with Bob Mashmet. And as they come down off this turn now, you're looking from a helicopter carrying a camera. As they make their move down off the exit buoy, they are then locked into unmarked lanes, but the officials require them to hold those positions. And as they make their move down for the start, you don't want to jump the gun. You want momentum. You want RPM. You want the horsepower ready to go. Inside, it's Hanauer. It's Squire Circus, Jack Schaefer is right in it. Bill Muncey is outside, and Muncey comes across the starting line in the number 3 or possibly 4 position. But as they go into the first turn, they'll begin to sort themselves out because some of them run faster in the turns than others. And right now, it is young Steve Reynolds in the Circus Circus coming off turn number 2 and taking the lead down the back straight. But on the outside, it is Bill Muncey. And Muncey is gone, and the Circus Circus, with a flash of fire, looked like he might have blown a supercharger. But he hangs on, but he drops back into second place, getting a little bit of fighting action, and Muncey comes storming down off turn number 2 and runs through the back straight and takes the lead, and there's the old crafty veteran laying it on him, Jim.
Coming off a corner number 2, Keith, the Circus Circus with Steve Reynolds almost lost it. And then it loaded up at a big stack fire, but he did manage to get it back under control, but now trails Bill by about 8 boat lengths.
Muncey is on the inside now. Watch him. He'll hug that buoy. When he gets inside and in front, he could be long gone because he has the proven equipment. He has won the first 3 races of 1979, and Lord knows he's got all the experience in the world in his hand. He gets a little high and does a little fighting as he comes down the lead at the end of lap number 1. So Bill Muncey, everybody, as a matter of fact, in these new aerodynamic designs seem to be flying a little more than usual. It is Circus Circus running in second place with Steve Reynolds. Jack Schaefer Jr. running third. Chip Hanauer is running in the number 4 spot. And Dr. Toyota is way back with Bob Mashmet. But the man of the moment is Bill Muncey driving that blue boat, the Atlas, and he's flying off to a big, big lead. He's got a half a straight lead already over the second place boat. Let's take a moment and go back to that second turn in the first lap and watch this violent action involving Circus Circus on the inside.
Keith, it looks as though that tight number 1 lane is too much for Steve Reynolds, and the Circus Circus hits a hole. He bounces around. It's like trying to control a wild steed. His foot comes off the accelerator. Raw fuel hits the stacks, causing a flash fire in the stacks and losing power momentarily, giving Muncey a big edge as he goes down the chutes.
And I'll tell you one thing, as we go back to the live action, Bill Muncey is going to be awfully hard to catch now because he does have a big lead. We'll be back with the finish, the Gold Cup race in a moment.
Hey, Lawrence, Kansas, who introduced the radial tire?
He did.
Hey, Bennington, Vermont, who makes only radial tires?
He does.
He's the Michelin Man. And at Michelin, we put you first. That's why we won't make a second-best tire. Because the only thing more important than our tires are the people who ride on them. Hey, Nashville, Tennessee, who's the fastest-growing tire company in America?
Michelin.
At Michelin, we put you first.
In the world of rust fighting, there are two schools of thought.
I want to do it fast.
I want to make it last.
New rust acrylic coatings are made for both. Rust acrylic fights rust the same as original Rust-Oleum, and its tough acrylic finish gives long-lasting protection.
It lasts.
It goes on easy, dries to the touch in 15 minutes, and cleans up with soap and water.
It's fast.
And you get a lot of beautiful colors.
If you're going to do it fast.
You might as well make it last.
Saturday, Battlestar Galactica is out to break the Cylon blockade. Then Angie's Donna Pesco is out to hook another gal's man, and Gopher's hooked to play the bait on the Love Boat. And on Fantasy Island, Diana Canova lives her dream with $500,000.
Tonight,
One lap to go, and that's always a welcome sign, isn't it? When you get that far out in front, and when you're running in rough conditions like this, I know that automobile racers and unlimited hydroplane people do the same thing. They always start listening for something.
Sometimes the driver will hold his breath from the exit bin to the entrance bin all the way down the straight chutes.
Bill Muncey turning down off turn number 2, running through the back straight. He's got the back straight 2 turns and the home straight to go, and the Gold Cup is his for an 8th time. What an incredible career he's had. He owns the boat.
Sorry, Keith. Only about 9 square inches of each sparks, and they're supposed to touch the water at half the propeller, but they are getting too high. They're actually flying the boat.
Don't push it unless you have to, and he is not pushing it at this particular point because he has a very big lead, and Steve Reynolds had his troubles coming off turn number 2 in the very first lap where she loaded up on him, a little stack fire, lost power just for a fraction, but that was enough. Muncey will make his turn. Having lapped Dr. Toyota, he is on the home straight right now with a checkered flag high in the air, being held by a man who put in a lot of miles in unlimited racing, Freddie Alter. And here comes Bill Muncey from La Mesa, California. He wins the Gold Cup for the 8th time. Coming on to finish in second place will be the Circus right there, being driven by Steve Reynolds out of Mercer Island, Washington. A little bit of one untoward fraction of a second took him right out of the competition in the very first lap. So he is in second place. And from here on, it'll be Squire Shop, Tri-Cities, and Dr. Toyota. And the victory celebration is on for Bill Muncey and the Atlas Van Lines crew. Jim Lucero, the crew chief who prepared the boat so well. And Bill Muncey now with 54 total career victories, including 8 Gold Cup wins, and he has become only the 2nd driver in history to win the Gold Cup 3 successive times. Keith Jackson, Jim Henrik from Madison, Indiana. After this message, we'll return to the Prescott Frontier Days Rodeo.